Iowa, back into your Missouri. Um, the farmers who had their predominantly the soybean farmers that had their Asian market taken away. How much have they rebounded with the bailout? How much have they rebounded with these talks that bore some fruit with China? And is China even close to living up to what they said they would do?
Well, so a couple things. First of all, if you talk to, like, I talk to some ag economists on a regular basis, because if I'm going to come out and talk about the farming economy, I want to make sure that I'm talking to the best folks out there, as Trump would say. We have some of our best people working on this. So I talk to these ag economists on a regular basis. The gap, they think, the amount of money lost by farmers last year is somewhere between 28 billion and 41 billion. Okay.
Sure.
So that's the amount of money that was lost because we lost these foreign markets, we lost margin, that kind of thing. So the president offered a $12 billion bailout. Now, you don't have to be really good at math to know that even if the number is 29 billion and we threw 12 billion at the problem, that's a big gap, right? That's a $15 billion gap. And it's probably even bigger than that. So what that's caused, Tom, is you've got a huge number of farmers that are floating over from last year, a lot of debt. And that's why bankruptcies went up 46%. And that doesn't even include the number of farmers are sitting on their biggest wealth resource is their land. So that 46% increase in bankruptcies, that doesn't even include the number of farmers that are just selling out because they're sitting on, a million, 2 million, $3, $4 million worth of land on top of that. So that's one thing. Okay. No, the president's quote unquote $12 billion bailout that he was bragging about in Wisconsin, it doesn't come close to covering the lost costs from last year. The second thing is you gotta remember, and if you're not in farming, people wouldn't know this. The deal we got with China, the outline of the deal, which was not a deal, like most Trump deals, quote unquote,
Right.
it locks us into a purchasing pattern on the part of the Chinese that's less than what we were annually selling under Biden with no giveaways. Okay. So, in other words, just like with Iran, we're going to come out of this thing with a worse agreement than the one he canceled. We're going to come out of this China trip. If we do get the deal, it'll be worse than what we already had in place under Biden. We'll be selling less to the Chinese every year than we did when Biden was in office. There are two other things that really worry me. One is the Chinese, in order to get this deal, which is worse than what we already had, they got the administration to agree to two things. One is we're going to put together this commission of trade, or investment, I mean, and the Chinese are going to probably be able to start buying American farmland again and invest in American tech
Yep.
companies, which our intelligence sources in this country have told us for decades is the wrong thing to do. Like, corporate espionage on China's the number one perpetrator of corporate espionage. So why don't we just go ahead and let them start investing in American companies? What could go wrong, right? And then the second thing is there's this board of trade, which means, as crazy as it sounds, China gets to start telling us, or at least putting in their 2 cents about what items we can sell and they can buy. So we've given up these two huge chips for an agreement that, if it goes through, will have us selling fewer agricultural products to them than we were under Biden without these concessions.
And we don't have another outlet, do we? Because we have places like Brazil and
No.
other Central American countries that are chewing up those international markets. So our soybean farmers don't have an additional outlet for that 20 to 25% of the global consumption of soybeans.
Yeah, and the truth is, just to put it a crass way, is how are you going to replace 1 billion Chinese bellies with, I mean, with 300 million Americans? And the truth of the matter is, most corn and soybeans, a lot of people don't know this, but most corn and soybeans that we go and grow in this country go into animal feed,
Yeah.
fuel, and processed food. And we grow very little row crops that we actually eat, that we physically eat. And that's got to change. We got to get back to farming products that people can eat. But we're not going to do that until we have an infrastructure style program that helps farmers convert over to those types of crops because it's just too expensive. I mean, you basically, if you switch to organic or you switch to regenerative agriculture, you're looking at 2 to 5 years of no profits while you do that conversion. So, FDR would have said, okay, we got to do the conversion. Let's treat it like infrastructure and let's keep farmers in business until they transfer over.
Yeah.
But we just don't have that kind of forward thinking in this administration.